Welcome back, guys, to A Day in the Life of Mike, and this is what I call the Paranormal Brews. So did Jesus warn us about aliens? Well, he sure did. Stay tuned and find out. Okay, guys, to be able to put Jesus and aliens in the same sentence and not sound like a complete maniac is going to take a great leap of faith, but please bear with me. Okay, guys, so what you need to realize that you are just an energetic being, and within your body you have energetic stations that control your emotions. Okay, now you need to understand something a little greater. So in the beginning of creation there was a ptah. In Egyptian mythology, that was the first vibrational instance of anything, but before that existed the noon. That was known as complete chaos and peace at the same time. It was everything, an amalgamation of everything at once. So from that, the light was born. That's God. Okay? But before that existed the darkness, which was nothing. From nothing, God was born. Now you have two energies. You have the light, and then you have the darkness. So there's a focal point that is known as the earth, or the plane of green. Now, earth is also an anagram for the word heart. So you need to realize that things are happening on a microcosmic scale and a macrocosmic scale. So things are happening really fast. In other words, time is going by really fast the smaller you get, and time is going by really slow the larger you get. Now, that's going to get into is the universe billions of years old or just thousands of years old? But I'm going to save that for another video, but I'm going to go with telling you that at the beginning, at the ptah, what we would call the Big Bang, the speed of light was umptillion times faster than it currently is. Well, so that we can now be able to scale that down from like 13 billion years old to several thousand years old. Okay, and I'm going to go with 8,000 years old just because. Okay, so what we have here are beings that exist within the light and beings that exist within the darkness. Now, there's a video at Action Labs that I want you guys to check out. I'm going to post it in the description so you guys can see it. But basically what it says is that darkness, or black, is not the absence of light, but just the light of another color. Now, with that should send some shivers down your spine, because you start to realize that just because the sun is not around does not mean that there isn't any light. Black is light. It's just another color. So when you look at the chakra system, this is sorry, clicking on my computer. So when you look at this is the chakra system. Now this is represented on Earth, in the human body, in the solar system, and on a galactic level and on the universal level. This is the same thing. It just repeats over and over and over, microcosmically and macrocosmically. Okay, so what we have here as the heart is green and earth. Okay, so that's where we're at. So the higher you get, the further up you get to white, which is ultraviolet and white. And then the lower down you get into the infrared and eventually into black. So then you have the yin and the yang system. Okay, so you can imagine this in a circular logarithmic scale. So this is exactly how it's represented. Now, I've made a really good explanation of this on one of my previous videos called the Secret Inside Us. Okay, so go watch that, so in order to understand what's going on here. But basically, what every human being is just a battery. Now, this is the caduceus. Now, this is why this is everywhere and it's in plain sight. Okay, in purple you have in the middle, right here, you have the central canal of the spine. Okay, in here exists your soul, and surrounding your soul is a fluid called the cerebrospinal fluid. That is called Christos in in Greek and Christos in Egyptian. Now, Jesus calls himself the way, the truth, and the light. Now, that can also be interpreted as the wave, the trough, and the life. So what you have here is the wave, then you have the trough, and then you have the light being expressed within the chakra system, the 7 churches. Now, you need to realize that each one of these churches or chakras is a glandular secretion point, because what's happening is, now imagine all this purple stuff coming into your body is being transformed into matter, and it is being expressed throughout the body. Okay, this is the process of turning water into wine. Okay, so what Jesus is trying to do in everything he ever said is trying to get you to come up and be non-sinful, because when you get to the blue shift this way of the green of earth, you have achieved blue shift, and this is what you call Satanism. Now, there is no singular Satan, there is satanic way of life. Now, there are demons, and we're not going to get into who Lucifer is, but all that exists on this end here. Now, what is here? Here you have temples. You have a temple called the Sacrum. Now, there is a tower in New York that they just built called the Vessel. That is the Sacrum. If you want to go over to my Instagram page, it's called the Paranormal Brews. You'll find the Vessel there, and I've linked a picture. I'll go to it in a little bit of the Sacrum and the Vessel, which is the same thing. And then you have another temple right here where the third eye is. Now, you need to realize that this is not the third eye of the pyramid. This is the eye of Horus. This is different from the pyramid that exists in hell. Okay, that's the Sacrum. Okay, and then which is also the pyramid that's present on the US dollar. Now, we're not going to get into that. This is another video. Okay, so what you have here within the spine is the cerebral spinal fluid ascending and descending. Now, this process on Earth happens 4 times a day, which is why everything's broken up into 4s. Now, the Earth is broken up into 4s. The heart is broken up into 4s. This whole thing is broken up into 4s, and the bigger you get, is everything is in 4s. You got the delta quadrant, the alpha quadrant, the gamma quadrant, the beta quadrant. Like everything just boom, 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 boom into 4s, into 4s, into 4s. Okay. So that is why you have the 4 cardinal signs, because sorry, I hope you guys cannot hear my computer because it's having a party over there. Okay, so the process of turning water into wine. Okay, as the energy, well, you need to realize that there's water that we can see, and then there's energetic water, which is a wave that we can't see. That is thought form that is coming in from here, going in here, and then inside our third eye, if we have managed to raise enough of the Christ fluid and we are there with Christ and he vouches for us, he dies for us basically, we get to experience new life. That's what Jesus meant when we enter in and out and find pasture. So what's that process? That's the process of turning water into wine at a party, at a pine gala. Okay, so the water comes in through the fontanelle, which is an ancient word for fountain. So the water comes in, which is the energy. It is then expressed in the eye, which is the olive oil. Okay, that is the Christ oil. That is why Catholics anoint themselves on the forehead rather than complete the process on the inside of your body. Okay, so when that happens within the third eye, there's this thin lining of cuboidal epithelial cells called or thin lining of cuboidal epithelial cells that allows the informational transfer, which is sodium and white blood cells, certain white blood cells, lymphocytes. Okay, so when that is processed with the blood, because the thin membrane allows the informational transfer of these two, from there you get the arachnoid sinuses. Now, if you break a walnut in half and you look underneath one of the halves, you'll see a spider. That's why they call it the arachnoid sinuses, because from there you pierce the wall, which is the wall of the brain, and from there the blood gets transferred directly to your heart via the jugular. Okay, so as your soul is undergoing all this process, there are demons who want to harvest this and destroy, because they feed off of the negative energy. Now, they want to keep you beneath the heart. Everything they're going to do, they're going to try and keep you here, which is in anger, which is in gluttony, and then which is lust, and then into complete death. So what we're trying to do is surmount, like get rid of dying, okay? This entire section will kill you. That's why it's called Satanism. Satanism is a way of living that kills you. This is why this is life. Okay, this is where you want to be, in the blue section, purple, indigo, violet, and white eventually. That is why the sheep are white. Okay, so let's just break this down. There's several things that I need to go over real quick. That way you guys understand exactly why or how these guys are coming in. Okay, so what we need to understand is the parable of the reaper and the sower. Okay, so Jesus says, "Look, a sower went out. He filled his hands with seeds and he scattered them. Some fell on the path and the birds came and pecked them up. Others fell on the rock and did not take root in the soil, and they did not put forth ears. And others fell among the thorns. They choked the seeds and worms ate them. And others fell on the good soil, and it produced good fruit. It yielded 60 per measure and 120 per measure." Okay, this is where it gets interesting. This is why when the master of the house is not only your house, but is the body. Your body is the house of the Father. This is why I say when the master of the house learns that the thief is about to come, he will be on guard before he comes, and he will not let him break into his house of his domain to carry away his possessions. Now, when you're in prayer, when you're living your life, you're asking God, constantly asking God for things. Now, you don't realize you're doing this, but you're constantly doing it. If you went to go eat, Burger King or McDonald's today, you asked God to be able to go and do those, and so you experience them. Now, this is the kind of thing that happens on such a frequent scale that you don't realize it. Now, if somebody out in Africa wants to have a Burger King, they're not going to be able to do it. So now that's something that would be akin like to us asking for millions of dollars just all of a sudden like just land in our bank account. So this is the kind of thing that they're taking from us. Okay, so it says to carry away your possessions, but you be on guard against the world. Gird your loins with great strength, so that the robbers will not find a way to get you. For the necessities for which you wait for with longing will be found. There ought to be a wise person among you. When the fruit was ripe, he came quickly with his sickle in his hand and harvested it. Now, we all know that abduction experiences always come with like some sort of little anal probing or something. Now, a lot of people will find that hilarious and funny, but what they're doing is harvesting the emotions that are generated within the lower body. Now, from there, they can actually exsanguinate your entire body. Once they do a sacral puncture into the spine, they can that's why that they don't find blood in a lot of these cattle mutilations, because what they've done is they've done a sacral puncture, and they've managed to because the spine has all the blood in the human body. That's where everything is processed. So all they have to do is basically reverse the flow, and they can suck out all the blood and take it with them, and that's why all of a sudden the animal has no blood in them. Now that should freak you out. But what they're actually doing is just tapping in to those lower glands, and they're taking all the emotion, and they do it with a sickle in their hand. See this? Now, we all know that about the the anal probing jokes, but that's actually what's happening. And they're using these things to harvest emotion because they want to take physical form. Now, that does not mean that they're not here without physical form. Now I'll show you. If you go over to my Instagram called the Paranormal Brews, you'll be able to find this very first picture that I posted. Now, this you'll hear a lot of alien abduction experiences talking about how they had no emotion, they had nothing to. They seemed like robots. Well, that's because some of them are just robots. So what we're doing, like, we are just a soul that is surrounded with Christ inside our human body. They are just an energetic, another form of energy inside a robotic body. Now, that's why some people will say things like, well, the alien reacted when I said, Jesus, come save me. And it reacted and it left, while others say the same thing and it didn't react. Now, that could be one of two things. Either you don't have enough Christ fluid, meaning that you are actually stuck in the lower energy areas. Remember, I told you that these things are blockages. So when you're stuck here, you're actually stuck in the lower form. So you're stuck in the realm of the infrared, and they can actually see you a lot better as an energy. So, like, anybody remember that scene in X-Men where Cerebro had the humans and the mutants separated? Well, it would be a lot like that to them, where they can see the red ones and the blue ones. Okay, so basically they enter at the brazen altar. That is where the sacrificed blood is given to cover your sin. They enter in at the brazen altar and they perform a brazen theft. That's where the word brazen, the terminology brazen theft comes from. Okay, so whoever has ears to hear, let them hear. Okay, the kingdom of the Father is like the person who had good seed. The enemy came by night. He sowed weed in with good seed. The person did not allow the servants to pull up the weed. And he said to them, let's pull up the darnel and the weed and the wheat along with it. For on the day of the harvest, the weed will be apparent and it will be pulled up and burned. Now, the weed amongst the wheat is let's just put this in terms that everybody can understand. You want a brand new car, you want a house, you want a girlfriend, you want a husband, you want something. That is the good seed. You're asking God for this. Remember, we're trying to experience on earth a good life. Now, these beings are coming in and they're taking the good life because they're feeding off of your negative emotion. So that is the weed in with good wheat. Now, you have to wait until harvest. Now, when is harvest? Well, like I said, harvest is happening on many different scales. It's happening on a micro scale and on a macro scale. So let's just break it down in ways that we can understand. Cerebral spinal fluid, that which is carrying your soul, is processed 4 times a day. Now, if you look at a clock, you can break it down into 4. You have 6 o'clock, which is going to be at the normal 9 o'clock position. That is 6 in the morning. Then you have noon. Then you have the harvest time, which is 6 in the evening. That is Libra. Libra is your harvest time. Now, Libra is very important because it dictates where you've been the entire day. Have you been positive? Have you ignored the enemy? Have you been listening and been faithful with Christ? If you have, you go up a scale for the next round. That's why you're born again every morning. You see? Now, if you look at it on a yearly scale, harvest time is about right now. Whenever Libra comes in, you have the rest of this Libra time to determine, I would think, if you're able to listen to the words of Jesus, you're probably going to be able to ascend. Now, like Jesus says, there are many doors in the kingdom of my Father. Now, he goes forth to prepare a mansion for you, but you need to want to go there. Now, what is the process of doing this? Now, these 7 chakras are the 7 churches. Now, churches, these are also the 7 candlesticks. Now, a lot of people don't know that the pineal gland is also known as the Pleiades. The pine gala, that's where Jacob saw God. Pineal. Okay, so when you get there, he held, basically, how does the verse go? He goes, he stood amongst 7 candlesticks, and he had 7 stars in his right hand. Now, this is happening when you get there. And this is when you turn the water into wine. Now, what kind of wine you're getting out of this? Wine is the blood. Now, you need to eat of the bread and of the wine of the Father. So when like I said before, when that new life is given to you, the new water, the new wine, it is then pumped directly into the heart. And then the heart expresses that to the rest of the body. Now, a lot of people don't know, but the law of attraction says that you have 16 seconds, 16 or 17 seconds to change your mind about a topic or to change your mind about something. Now, what happens at 17 seconds? That's Libra. Okay? That's the turning point of your thought and emotion, because it takes, as you're breathing in and out, it takes 68 seconds to completely recirculate all the blood with oxygen in your body. So you have 17, because once you pass that, let's say you go into 20 seconds with a certain thought process, a certain daemonic is just absent to the one, it's just absent to the light. Okay, so if you go into past Libra, past 20 seconds with a negative thought, you now have to ride that process out by changing a thought, but you've already started, like, basically the domino effect. So what you want to do is change that. Okay, so how do they do this? Okay, so there's a guy named Daryl Sims. Now, he's known as the Alien Hunter, and he said something that rang bells with me. So what's happening is the way they do this. Now, I had to couple this with a little bit of my research, but he calls it nuking. Okay. Now, this is where my personal experience comes in, because what happens is they nuke an area with ELF, which is extremely low frequency. And basically what happens when they do that is that they create a picrotoxin inside your gut that inhibits the reuptake of GHB. So what starts to happen is that this GHB gives you a paralytic effect. So it's like you're awake, but you're asleep. This is what causes sleep paralysis. So this is happening to everybody, because these beings are indiscriminate. If people think, oh no, well, I've never had an alien abduction, I don't have these kinds of experiences, and that's because you're not living the life that you should be. Now, what happens is, as you're running out of cerebral spinal fluid, you start to stay lower in this energetic field. This keeps you from knowing when these beings are around. Now, how do you surpass this? Well, a child, this is why children can see these beings, and people are like, well, they're always around kids and this and that. That's because they are one. Now, let me take you back to that other picture. Okay, so a child is always over here, because they've managed to, you can consider that each one of these purple lines here is an ascension point. So they've collapsed this, made it one. So when you actually merge red and blue, you get purple. So you get purple, you've surpassed this chakra point. This candlestick has been, Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jack jumped over the candlestick. So as he's jumping, he's collapsing all of these energies, and he's slowly raising the oil. A lot of people don't know, but oil can be moved with electricity. So as the oil comes here and makes it here, you get the Vesica Pisces, which is the sight beyond sight. So you see here, so you have the left side and the right side, and then you have the Eye of Providence. This is the Jesus fish. See here in the middle? That's the Jesus fish. This is where it gives you the sight beyond sight. So this is why kids can see these. Now, it's like, well, I mean, old people can see, all kinds of people can see this. Yes, because what's happening is that a lot of these people don't have the issues that other people have. So for instance, now these are the 7 deadly sins that you must convert into 7 virtues. That's the only way to jump over the candlestick, right? So everybody has a certain issue with their particular demon. Okay, that's why they call when you expel. If I were to tell you I'm going out to expel some demons, you automatically know what I'm talking about. Okay, because they're entering in, well, on the microcosmic scale, that's where they're at. Okay, so anyways, the aliens are coming in, and people don't see them because they're stuck in these areas. For instance, somebody might have a problem with lust, so they're way down here. Others might have a problem with gluttony, so they're stuck here. Now that is why in the chakra system it has petals or flower or leaves. They basically, what they are is leaves, because at either end of the tree of life, of the river of life, there was 2 trees. So there was a tree here and a tree here. So all this energy here can be expressed at this end too. Okay, so if you're healthy, because you would think that, okay, so if a healthy person should be way up here because they're fit and this and that, yeah, but they might have a problem with lust, so that keeps them down here. So the perfect being is one who is enlightened, who is here. Now, this is not the same as illuminated, but there is a corollary, because basically what's happening here is you have a choice, because where the beginning is, there shall the end be as well. Remember, I told you that this is expressed logarithmically like a circle. Okay, so within this circle, see, there are all the little petals and leaves. Okay, so here in an energetic form, you have a sphere, and within the sphere you have 2 pyramids, and with those pyramids form is a tetrahedron. Now that tetrahedron is the smallest waveform, so it's either a particle or a waveform. Well, this is where all that is coming from. So you need to realize that you are just an energetic form. Okay, so you're either stuck on one point or another. Now, this is going to get into the Satanists and all their harvesting of the adrenochrome from children, because they have the purest form, because they're always here. They don't have all these impurities that happen down here. They don't have all those vaccinations. So that adrenochrome, people don't know this, but the pineal gland is the one that sends the message to the adrenal glands to release the adrenaline. So the adrenochrome comes from this energy over here that's coming into the skull. So this is why some people get superhuman strength, because the adrenaline is being pumped forth from the heavens, and that is new life, new water that is actually happening so fast, because what is happening here is that your vibrational speed is happening so fast, because the heart is no longer bumping at normal rhythm. So it starts because the adrenaline is pumping. So you have superhuman strength, because your life force is called upon on an emergency. So this is dumped into the kidneys, which is then the adrenal glands that rest up on top of the kidneys, and then it just dumped into the bloodstream, and then everything just happens so fast. So this little process here, this little waveform here, is like a million times faster, like you would see it on an EKG of somebody whose heart is beating super fast. Okay, so they induce the fear, which creates this blood flow of energy into the blood, which is the adrenochrome. Because you got to remember that all these metals are inside our body, and the red blood cell is just iron. Okay, that's why they call Iron Man. We're Iron Man. Red blood cells live 120 days in the body. On Earth, a red blood cell lives 120 years. You see where I'm going with this? Okay, so that's why children can see these beings and ghosts and phantoms and images and all these stuff and aliens, because they're constantly in this. The adults can be in these levels here. Now a normal level will keep you here on the heart, the earth, the green. Okay, and then as you slowly go up and reach here, you can see these beings a little more. So basically what's happening here, guys, is they're coming in now. They're coming in to harvest your emotions and your thoughts. This is what they call the honey. Now, something else that Daryl Sim said makes perfect sense, because the pineal gland is known to secrete the honey. Now, that is the gold, the manna from heaven. Okay, that is where the adrenochrome is coming from, right? And then you have the pituitary gland, which is here, which secretes the serotonin or the oxytocin and all these other chemicals. Now, all this stuff, because basically all we are is just information bags. Okay, so all the glands have information that is secreted in chemical form from the ether. Now, ether is just another word for father. It's where the word feather comes from. That's why when you've reached enlightenment, you'll start seeing feathers everywhere. Okay, now it doesn't mean that it's going to be yours forever. You could descend back into hell. You know, all it takes is a good night of drinking and some sex, and you'll definitely be in these areas here. That means you have fallen from grace. When you fall from green to yellow, you've fallen from grace. That's why they call them the fallen angles, the daemonic angles, because they're absent to the light, they're absent to the one. Okay, guys, well, I guess that's it for now. I hope I explained this. I know that I think I've rambled on a lot, but I think I managed to hopefully not convince you, but to sway you into understanding that these beings, all they want is to feel. They want life, and they're getting it when you're staying in this area of the body. Remember, a person who is up here knows when they're coming. This is where you want to be. This is where Jesus wants you to be, because you will find. Now, I know I have it here somewhere, but I don't think I'm going to find it anytime soon. When the owner of a house knows when a thief is coming, he will prepare, and that's you will find what you need. So that's exactly what happens when you're living on this level. When you're living over here, this is the majority of the population. They don't know that they're being harvested for their emotions and their thoughts. They're keeping them basically ignorant, and there's nothing wrong with the word, but they're keeping you here, that way you don't know what's going on. See, a lot of people, you had a better chance of seeing these entities or having these experiences when you were a kid. Now as an adult, you need to stop eating, stop getting angry, and stop having sex. When you do that, you move further up in the scale, and you're able to see sight beyond sight. Now, let me see. Reptiles still have that. That's why they can see in infrared. This is a snake. So see that little red part in the middle? That's why they can see in infrared. See, that's the Vesica Pisces. They have that little spot right in the middle. That's their third eye. It's like a vestigial third eye. There it is. So some lizards still have it. It's crazy, but ours is on the inside. Now this is what a pine cone looks like, and this is exactly what your pineal gland looks like. Now imagine that frosted. Okay, imagine it looking. Well, that's kind of like a side profile view, but imagine this the same way. So I'm gonna get into this in a deep state video of what they're actually doing when they fluoridate you. But they're putting, when you go into heaven, who's the one who keeps you from entering heaven or decides? It's Peter at the pearly gates. So imagine this frosted in a bunch of fluoride or natural saltpeter. Saltpeter is like a soft rock that can be dissolved with oil. And that is, if you raise enough oil, he decides whether you enter in and out and find pasture. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I don't think I spent too much time talking about the aliens accidentally, but basically what they're doing is they're harvesting your emotions, and they come in at night, and they emit a frequency that keeps you from waking up. That is the sleep paralysis. Now everybody experiences it, and they don't realize that they're in the room with them. Now they may be in physical form, or they may be in energetic form. Now either way, they can still harvest your energy. So that's all I have for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for some more videos, and go check out my Instagram at The Paranormal Views, or my Facebook page at Abduction Stories. And that is it. Peace.